What's up, my people? Welcome to the BS Your Way Through Life show, where BS stands for Buffy-Style, and maybe a little about what BS originally stands for, or what you thought it did. This is where we talk about how to deal with life better. I want to help you figure out how to have a more positive life, full of enthusiasm, how to get your relationships to a healthier place, how to cultivate a chill attitude, get rid of your pettiness, and replace it with positive outlooks. Understand what's really worth getting upset about and what's not. How to find the funny in everything. How to become a better you. My name is Buffy-Style Larson, and I created the slogan, BS Your Way Through Life, with a double meaning. It doesn't just mean doing it the Buffy-style way. It also means doing things your way and not doing things perfect. Just doing your best. Let's get started, my friends. It's time to start BSing your way through life. Let's rock this thing.
It moved.
Awesome.
Okay.
Got it.
We are working this out. Okay, here we go. Take two. All right. Welcome to the BS Your Way podcast. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I have a special guest. Her name is Katelyn, and she is here. Her husband is describe. What is it?
Sure. Hi. Thank you for having me so much, Buffy. I really appreciate it. So my husband is part of he's a merchant mariner. So a lot of people think he's part of like the Marines, but he's part of the Merchant Marines, which is a special kind of branch of shipping, I will say, that is hired by a lot of different people. So part of Merchant Marines is container ships, oil tankers, tugboats, any sort of cargo carrying type of, business. So he's actually not part of the Army and not part of the Marine Corps.
He's technically still a civilian.
Yes, he's technically a civilian, but he has had government contracts.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So one of his previous ships he worked on overseas, he was hired under the government, but his company was contracted.
Okay.
As, like a contractor.
Which his job requires him to be gone quite a lot.
Exactly. So as part of this industry, because of the nature of the industry, the time away can vary from ship to ship, company to company. There's a lot of different companies within this industry. So my husband has done as little as 3 weeks at a time away to 3 weeks home to as many as 180 days away. And he's settled in now. We've found our groove after, I think he's been in this almost 20 years, and we've been together 11 years. Well, we've been married 10 and then together almost 18. Forget about that dating time.
I know, right? And you have a podcast currently, and it's called More Than a Mariner.
More Than a Merchant Mariner's Wife.
I get it. I get like
it's confusing. I know, it's a tongue twister.
And that's why I'm bringing Katelyn on here today, because I've been listening to her podcast, and she's just so like, I personally, my husband does not leave for that long of a time. And so I personally don't know how to like help women cope with that. And so, but Katelyn's been doing this for years, and she's good about like, helping her kids cope and everything. And anyone who resonates with that, because I have all kinds of different kind of audiences on here, I like to touch base on every part, in marriage of what can be a strain, and helping to, show that things can work just fine.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Absolutely. And I always tell people, like, it's not just my industry. It could be, the service industry, or the off schedule, with firefighters or hospital workers or police officers or whatever the case may be. One of my best girlfriends, her husband, works odd hours as a police officer. And so she resonates, and I had her on, and I'm like, we get it. Like, and then, you get that like, oh, well, one of my best friends, a lot of my best friends are their husbands ship or boat offshore for lobstering and fishing. And so they're like, well, they don't go away for months at a time, but they're still away for like 4 days.
Yeah,
5 days. And I'm like, hey, that's your normal. I'm like,
it is. Yeah.
there's no shame. I said, they're off your regular schedule. Like, that's what I always tell people. It's like, whatever your normal is, when they do something outside of that, it rocks the family dynamic.
It does. It absolutely does. And
so, yeah, even though I'm like at 75 days away, 75 days home, like that could equate, it's just like it's like what percentage of time, it doesn't really matter. It still rocks the dynamic of the family.
Yeah, totally. So what do you do to like help your kids cope?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Moms.
It is. So, a little background on me. My dad also worked in this industry, so I was also a child of it, not just a wife. He they joke. My husband's a chief engineer, so there's two parts to shipping. There's, the captain, chief mate, first mate, deckies, they call them. And then there's the engine room, and there's always this like kind of friendly battle between the two. So I always joke that I married an engineer, but my father's a decky. So
that's funny.
Yeah, so they're always comparing notes. But my dad used to work for Arco, and so he would go to Alaska. They actually had the same run. It's ironic. But he used to go to Alaska for a long period of time. And when I was a child, we didn't have FaceTime. We didn't have email. So I just remember handwriting him letters. And just when he came home, we got sugar cereal and had fun with daddy. And that was it. And it was my normal. So in answer to your question, when I talk about my kids, this is their normal. I mean, we were shipping from the time we were dating. Like when we met in June, he shipped out in October, I think, it was supposed to be 90 days, and it basically doubled. It was crazy contract. But so we really had to talk about like, what do we do if we get married, when we have kids, how are we going to, stay in contact, stay in touch? So, it is their normal. They do miss daddy. We do cope in a bunch of different ways that I can certainly get into, but just to establish that, they don't know any other way.
Right. So. But then, there might be that struggling mother out there that's just like, maybe didn't even grow up with it, or maybe life transitioned and now and it became their normal. And she's just like, I don't know how to.
So that's who I talk to on the podcast as well, because I'm part of a Facebook group of supportive women. There's 1,500 members of the group, and a lot of them are, they didn't date during this time. They found their way to the job after, and they were like, wait, I didn't sign up for this. Like, my kids didn't sign up for this. Like, what's going on? Or, your spouse changes jobs and now they have to work the night shift. And, it's like, well, I thought I was going to have help with the baby at night. So, I think taking care of yourself, I've learned, that's why my podcast is more than a merchant mariner's wife, because I kind of lost myself in the role of keeping everything together, keeping my kids happy, my husband happy, not rocking the boat, not mentioning this bill or that bill right when he leaves, like wait a week, if it's not urgent. And then I kind of lost myself. I have 3 kids, and 8 and 2.5, 8 and 5. I have twin 5-year-olds, and it was a lot. It was a lot to manage and maintain, and just to keep the wheels on the bus. So I think in hindsight, if you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh, have dance parties in the living room and, have them talk to daddy and do all these things, which I still do. Right. But now, advice to your listeners, I would say take care of yourself first. It's that old adage, like put your oxygen mask on first. And I'm now learning that. We've been doing this for so long. And I'm like, mommy needs her morning. I need my meditation.
Even with a mom who doesn't have to do it all while husband's gone, we tend to just lose ourselves in our motherhood anyway.
Exactly.
So further, you can lose yourself when it's all on you because your partner is literally gone half the time.
Yeah. And keeping that routine, like when they come home, it's so easy to get knocked off kilter and lose that routine because you get into a rhythm. So I always say there's a transition in, there's a transition out, and like right in the middle is the sweet spot. Either way, whether he's coming home or whether he's going away. So for me, it was really important. Okay, what are my non-negotiables? My non-negotiables in the morning are, I meditate, I have to do my gratitude journal, and I have to move, do some sort of like reading or coffee meditation, like EFT. I mean, like something like that. Um, whether that happens in a specific order, it's important to be flexible.
Yeah. Right.
And whether all of them happen or not, they don't always happen in, every single morning. Like this morning, I did my EFT after the kids went to school because I was like, well, I could be like, shh, mommy has to meditate, or I could just be like, okay, we're going to get to this, but we're going to get to this when we're in a better place.
That's a more peaceful way to go about that.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. I would say take care of yourself first. And if that means like the kids get a little extra screen time or they're playing by themselves, earbuds are my secret weapon. I put my earbud in all the time. And earbuds and earplugs.
Right. When I'm in the car, I'm like, I think in California, you're not supposed to have like, headphones on covering both ears. And I'm like, I drive better that way because I'm not hearing the screaming.
Right. That's what it is. And especially if they're occupied and they're safe and they're watching a show or they're playing outside, you just I pop one earbud in because I have the AirPods, and I either, now they're used to me seeing, but I used to keep my hair down. I used to like cover it up. And if like, I can still hear, like if someone's screaming, but I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to a meditation or I'm listening to an audiobook or something for myself. That being said, there are moments where I'm like, whoa, I am way overstimulated right now. Like I just need quiet.
Yeah.
So then I sometimes leave them in and just do the noise canceling.
That's there you go. That works.
Yeah. So I will say that, and keeping up with your friendships, whether that be, sometimes it's really hard for childcare. So whether that be a Zoom coffee date or, my friend and I voice memo each other. So it's a little bit more personal than a text, but you're not beholden to that live FaceTime.
Yes. Yes.
And I look forward to that little play. I'm like, oh, she sent me a message. Like it's just a little bit of a break.
That's how I communicate with my sisters. And it just, oh yay, I have something. And it's like adult conversation. And it's just so nice.
And commiserating. You have to have someone or something to vent to, whether that's a journal, whether that's God or the universe or going outside.
Or a friend who isn't going to be judgmental, or
a friend, a family member, something.
It's good to be able to have an outlet of someone to talk to, but you don't want that friend or that person who's going to be like, oh, how dare they? That's not what you're looking for. You're just looking to vent with no, prior judgments or them thinking less of whatever you're venting about,
Absolutely. And even like I can almost guarantee like every week my friend and I are like, okay, I just need to like get this out because I don't want to yell at my kids or I don't want to yell at my husband. And if I get it out to you, it's a safe space. So no need to respond.
Safe. Yes. Yes.
I always say like, you don't need to fix this. You don't need to respond. I just need this place to like.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. Everybody needs to, every woman, every mom, every wife needs to get a safe place. It is it's like therapy. Seriously.
Yes. And I also have figured out the secret. If you can join the Y or a gym of some sort that has a child center, Kids Club was a huge help for me when my husband was away because I could drop my kids, and whether I worked out or not, they had a 2-hour time limit. So I would often drop my kids, go work out, and then sit and do work or read or make a phone call in the cafe area and just be like, they're safe. I'm fine. I can sit here. I can go to the pool, go to the steam room, whatever, whatever I want to do. And they're kind of aging out of that now, but they're almost to kindergarten. So I'm like really close to just either like using the gym more for family stuff. Open swim is a huge energy. The main thing with the kids is getting their energy out in a safe and healthy way.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, so well said. And what would you say to the mom who's like just starting out with this kind of thing, and like how would you what's the word, consult, or advice you would give her, be like, here's what you say to your children to help them ease into this norm. What advice would you say to her to say to her kids?
That's a great question. So we have a very open relationship with our kids. I talk to them about everything. So first of all, I wanted to say the behavior is not usually about what the behavior is about. It's usually something underneath. So it took me a long time to learn that. But now if they're acting out to each other and they're just, every mom knows that. Just like,
oh my gosh, yes.
Everything is wrong. Nothing's right. I used to just try to band-aid the problem. And then I started thinking for a second, pausing. You've talked about pausing before. And saying, do you miss daddy?
Oh.
Or saying, oh, I miss daddy so much. I need a minute. Like, I want to help you with your situation, but I'm really missing daddy right now. And I just wish he was home to help me with this. And 9 times out of 10, whether you ask them directly, you'll know your own kid and how they can handle it. I have some highly sensitive kids that if you say, do you feel this way? That no. Oh no, but if I feel it, they can resonate with me. And 9 times out of 10, they'll just either break down into tears and release all of the stress, or they'll just stop playing with their sister that way and like move on, if they are kind of feeling anxious about it. So that would be my advice first, is like deal with the problem under the problem. The second thing we do is, or it's not like an order, but we have a lot of books about like Under the Same Stars is Under the Same Moon is one of the books, and it's a recordable book. So we recorded Josh reading it so we can play that. We have a book that I used to read as a child that I cannot seem to find anywhere. It's like out of print. It's an antique. The cover's falling off, but it was Dear Daddy, and it has the top a day in the life of dad and the bottom is a day in the life of me, basically, or the child. And it's like, a letter that she's writing to her father. And it's like, while she's reading this letter, it's about him, like, and the things he's doing on the ship. And it's just like, pictures. And it was such a comfort to me as a kid that my mom she found it and gave it to my kids. We read that all the time. We have special books that we only read when daddy's gone. He started leaving voicemails for different scenarios. So I would ask him, hey, I'm going to let my phone go to voicemail. Can you leave a voicemail for like if he's having a hard time falling asleep? Can you leave a voicemail if, he did something really cool at school? Can you leave a voicemail if, he's just really angry or whatever, you know what I mean? And then I could look back and play those for him. And then when emojis started taking over iPhones, he sends the funniest animated emojis. And we save them. I save them in a folder. It's called Daddy's Emojis. And whenever we need a boost, like if I feel the energy's a little low at breakfast, I'll prop it up. And he sang he made up a song, Rainbow Unicorn. We still sing it. And he's like, look at my little poop head. And he'll like do the poop head emoji. Like, it's just funny. Like, keep it light is what I would say. Like, you can obviously acknowledge the feelings, acknowledge the sadness, but also, I always remind my kids, we are so blessed that daddy has the job he has, that he can take care of us. Even when he's far away, he's taking care of us. And then we can do things other kids can't. Like, we can go to the zoo on a random Wednesday if we want to. We can go, we went to Maine and rented a house with our cousins from Switzerland for a week in Acadia because he got a bonus. There's like,
oh, that's beautiful.
It may be hard now, but it's going to be easier later. And it's like, you kind of have to take the good with the bad. And that's everything in life.
And if you, I know that some women might struggle with guilt. I love hearing that you're doing all these things. You're giving your kids experiences and showing, look, dad's loving us. And I'm sure it makes, him feel so good that he's able to provide these experiences for his kids. What would you say to the woman who might feel guilty and doesn't go out and do anything because she's like, who am I to go out and do anything because, or guilty having fun without him?
Oh, guilt. Oh, guilt and I are old buddies. Buddy, old pal.
We all friends.
Yeah. So I would definitely say to that woman, you are living your life for you. So you need to do what makes you happy and fulfilled so that you can bring your whole self to the marriage. Because whether or not he's home or away, you want to have things that bring you joy and make you complete as a person before you even, kind of join up with your spouse. So going out with friends or reading a good book, or what I do is I save all the chick flicks and all of the series on TV that I know he hates. And I almost look forward to when he leaves because I'm like, yeah, I'll catch up on, Mrs. Maisel or whatever it is.
Yeah, right. Brandon, because I watch it all the time while I'm doing laundry. I'm like,
yeah, like he'll start a series with me and then he abandons it either towards the end of the series or he'll never want to see season 2. And then I'm into it and I'm like, well, all right, well, go bye.
That's why you're gone.
See you later. Bye. Have fun at work. I'm going to sit here and watch a show. And also the guilt kicks in when you're talking. Like we have the advantage of being able to talk basically whenever we want. But it's also kind of a blessing and a curse because there's nights where we don't really have anything to say, but we feel that pull to want to be connected and want to talk to each other. And some nights, like after a full day of kids talking to you, all you want is quiet.
Quiet. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I don't want to talk to my husband. It sounds awful. I love my husband.
Can I just dispel a little bit of like any woman who might be feeling, guilt is like, okay, for instance, because like, you mentioned like some women might think, oh, but I feel so guilty if I just sat there and watched TV. But our job never ends. Like you have the morning shift, the afternoon shift, and the night shift. You are always, always working as a mom. You always have a kid. You always have a problem. It's never sit down and just enjoy yourself. It's like get up 50 times in the middle of what you're trying to do, right? So it's just like we have nothing to feel guilty for. You're doing your job and your job never ends. He's out there working. You're still working too. So if you just never take time to have some pleasure, then you're going to start resenting your family.
Exactly. I was just going to say, then you become a martyr and then you become this like in trying not to feel guilty and giving of yourself so much, then he takes that energy like, well, why are you so upset about? And like, why are you snippy with me? It's like, well, because I'm trying to do 20 things. It's like versus, hey, honey. And I think dispelling guilt it's a lot about communication. Like, hey, honey, I can talk to you tonight, but I can probably only talk like half an hour.
Yeah.
Because it's been a day and I love you and I just need a minute. And 9 times out of 10, he'll be like, oh, that's cool. Like I'll call my mom or I'll call Duke or I'll go to the gym. All he wants to do is know ahead of time so he can plan.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of the times, and this doesn't always work with like spouses. I mean, even if it would work because if a spouse is working, like mine sleeps on the ship, so he has a lot of downtime when we're talking. But if a spouse is working, they're probably not able to talk anyway. So like, there's nothing to feel guilty about. Like you need your downtime.
Well said.
And I don't want to discount, anybody's guilt is valid, feel your feelings.
Yeah, totally.
And I've been a big fan of tapping, EFT, and also journaling. So it's like, okay, you feel those feelings come up. I've named her. I have my friend and I named our ego / guilt.
I love it.
Mine is Stephanie because I don't know if there's Friends fans out there, but Stephanie knows all the chords. So mine is Stephanie, and I say, hey, Stephanie. This is it. You get 10 minutes. You can feel your feelings. You can EFT. You can journal on it, whatever. Then we're going to go watch that movie that Josh hates.
Love it. Perfect. Man, that's
if you just want to listen to your audiobook and finish your book, like sometimes I'm like, hey, I just have like a half hour left on my book and it's due to the library like at midnight. Like I just need to do this and then I'll call you. Like just kind of owning but part of that is having confidence in yourself to know what you want. So like feeling guilty often for me comes from not being clear of what I want and then putting it on him and like, oh, well, if I just don't talk to him tonight, I just feel so guilty. It's like, well, no, but do you want to talk to him or do you want to do something else? It's like, well, I don't know. And, having that conversation with yourself first.
Yeah. Getting to the root of why that guilt is coming up. And
yeah, just like with the kids, getting to the root of why the behavior is coming up. It's always, and then getting to the root of if there's a conflict. Because sometimes when you're working these odd hours, there's often miscommunications. Like, wait, I thought you were going to take the dry cleaning. I thought you were going to, bring home takeout. Like,
right.
well, we didn't talk about it because I got in at 2 a.m. and you were already asleep. It's like, okay, well, let's time out. We're both working really hard. Can we set aside time to talk about this and work out a schedule and just making that time and knowing in your heart, like I kind of ebbed and flowed on this with the guilt and the resentment. It was like, okay, when he comes home, I was starting to feel resentful, like, oh, he's home now. I can't do anything for myself. It's like, no, when he's home, that's our time as a couple to build our relationship and work together. You have your time. And even as a couple, it's okay for us to each have our own stuff going on too. We just have to coordinate the timing of that.
That was so well said.
Thank you. Hope I didn't ramble too much. I'm like, I could talk all day.
I'll just stay here and listen. You just keep going.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So yeah, I mean, that's what I would say in terms of the guilt. And then, if you, wanted me to go into what activities, like concrete activities the kids can do, but
if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about your comfort level. Like some parents are really comfortable with mess and paint and clay, and I am not one of those moms.
One of those either.
But I don't mind a pillow fort in the living room.
Right.
I don't mind, like, sure, get out all the blankets in the house and the nugget.
Yeah.
And I just give me 5 minutes to vacuum. Like, let me just vacuum everything. So we don't have dog hair all over everything, but like go for it. But setting a boundary with that. So that would be my advice is like, yes, you can do it, but like say they know on the weekends. That's usually when we do that. So it's like, okay, if you're doing it Saturday morning, by Sunday night, we're cleaning it up. And most of the time it's when daddy's gone because daddy has other rules.
Other standards.
And actually, that brings me up to a good point is like, it's really confusing for kids sometimes when they have one parent to listen to and then they have two.
Yes, address this, please.
Yeah. So for me, we established a long time ago that I was the primary disciplinarian, caregiver, primary go-to, and he was going to follow whatever I did. Now, that's all well and good until he's alone with the kids or something happens and then he's like, well, mommy does it this way. And so it's all about communication, but it's also respecting their wishes. Like I said, when daddy's home, there's no nuggets in the living room. Like he doesn't like it. We only do it on movie night and that's fine. And it took them a while to get used to it, but the kids fall in line with whatever. As long as you're in a united front, they'll fall in line.
Very good. Oh, I'm glad you addressed that because that can be, confusing, obviously, to the kids. But then establishing like, look, like with the nuggets that you said, these are special occasion moments. But you know what? When dad's home, it's a different dynamic, and that's good. We're glad, and it's good to have that, the structure and showing that hey, you and dad are a team, and you both respect each other and what your dislikes and likes are. And things like that, and showing the kids, hey, yeah, we're a team, even though we differ on this. That's okay because it's Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's totally true, and it can be confusing if you let it be confusing if you're not clear on what the boundaries are. Because for a while we weren't. I was like, wait, you don't want this to happen? Like you don't like not being able to sit on the couch? Oh, because it doesn't bother me. Like I don't sit down.
Well, and that too, it's just like difference in opinion of like men and women in general. Cause like even my own husband, like there'll be something I'm okay with that the kids do. And he's just like, no.
Yes.
You don't even have that dynamic where he's gone, for days and months and whatever time. He literally gets to come home every night, but he'll come home and like, why is this like this? And I'm like, oh, the kids are doing, well, I don't like that they do that. Like,
right.
Okay.
Or I'll let them leave out projects that they're working on if I know, like, okay, great example this morning. My daughters, we got balloons for a science experiment yesterday, fine. So they made them into patients at a hospital or something, and they put them all on the couch and they propped up books and they took all of my books and all my magazines that were in the living room and they propped them up all, and she's going around with the tissue and they have this huge like thing. And they said they had to go to school. And I said, oh, I'll leave this up till after school. No problem. Like, cause I'm used to being alone. Well, my husband came in at lunch and he's like, I said, where are we eating lunch? He's like, well, I'm eating in the living room. You can do what you want. And he's just moving the patients. And I'm like, don't move the. And then I stopped myself and I was like, okay, he can move the patients and I can move it back. Cause he's like, well, I'm sitting on the couch all day. I will. And he gently moved the patients,
Yeah.
over, but like he respects that I give the kids free reign of their projects. And then I respect that he doesn't want our furniture taken up by the kids. So,
Yeah. And
it's kind of a mutual.
And see, that's perfect right there. And you're not making, arguments out of it. Maybe it's easy to do at the beginning because you're like establishing, some ground, but like you get to a point where you're like, okay, we realize that, we're just respecting each other's how we like things. And that's totally okay.
And this has taken me years. I don't want to sound like, oh, I have this all figured out and everything's perfect. Like, no, this has taken me many years to work out in my own head.
Patient with ourselves, right?
Yeah. And be like, Katelyn, like, get a little loose. Like, don't be so rigid with your thing. And I think I just had such like a respect for my kids' imaginations and their play and like wanting them to feel like this was their home and not a museum. But at the same time, it's like, it's his home and he doesn't want to feel like a guest in his own home.
No, nobody does.
So anyway, I think that, sorry, I had to change my speakers.
That's okay.
The other thing I was going to say, can you still hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. The other thing I was going to say was preparing the kids. So if you know a schedule, we don't often know exactly what day, he'll be in and out. So just like a week in advance, just preparing like, hey, we're getting ready for daddy to come home or getting ready for daddy to leave or mommy, whoever your audience is. What do you think are some things that you want to, so say he's home and he's about to leave, like, let's put a bucket list together of some things we want to make sure to do with daddy before he leaves or before he comes home. Like when daddy's home, like that's one thing I get them excited about. It's like, what are we going to do with daddy this summer? Like, let's go. And we keep a list together. And then that helps him prepare like, okay, mentally, they have all of this in mind. And then like the night he comes home, it can be really hard with time zones and all the things. So it's like, okay, we're all on the same page. We're going to order food. We're going to have a movie night. We're going to cuddle. And we know how long it takes them to decompress. So we know if he's going to have to go to his mom's and hide.
Yes.
I told him one time, I said, honey, I'm really excited that you're home. But if you show up in this house at 8 a.m., I'm going to kill you.
I'm going to kill you.
Because we were like, some parents, they keep their kids home from school and they enjoy their first day. I'm like, I want to enjoy my husband home and you guys can go to school and see him after school. Thank you very much.
Yeah, right. He's mine first.
Yes. If the timing works out that way. The other thing that we'll do is like, I can tell if my daughter especially is a little hesitant. She absolutely adores her father, but she's a little bit shy and like a little hesitant. And I'll say, hey, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking about, I took that from Dr. Becky. I can't take credit for that, but she's like, you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about how I'm a little bit like mixed feelings about daddy coming home. Like it's not always happy, right? Like I'm a little nervous about how this is going to change the dynamic of the house. And that's okay. And then she'll be like, she was the other night. She was like, yeah, I'm a little sad. I don't know why. And I said, are you sad because you're like missing him now? And she's like, well, I guess I'm nervous. And like, it was like putting words to her feelings through me again. So just kind of mentioning that in case people think like,
oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, well, they're not happy about daddy coming home. But like, even my son, he was like, I hate it when daddy comes home. And I'm like, oh, tell me more about that. He's like, well, everything changes. I can't watch YouTube. I can't put the nuggets in the living room. I can't do this. And I'm like, okay, work through the anger, work through and it's like, yeah, I don't watch my chick flicks. I don't get to eat cheese and crackers for dinner. Like I actually have to plan a dinner.
Exactly.
But let's then focus on what the positives are. So anyway.
Exactly. Well said. Yeah. Cause like, especially with children, cause I remember when especially if, women who have their husbands are in the military and the father's gone for a long time and a baby sometimes is born, like my sister, she had a baby that was born, and then like the baby didn't even know her daddy. And
yes, that
like,
is so tough.
in my house, right? And it took my sister it took a while for her to get, just like, oh, this is your father, and for the child to even want,
Yeah, that
daddy.
can be tricky. I've been really lucky. One, I've been lucky because he's been home for all of the births, which has been amazing.
Oh, wonderful.
He was really good about figuring out the timing. So when my son was born, he was on a 3-week rotation. So yeah, he had to leave really quickly after he was born, but we were able to have him home, prior to and like a little bit after. And sometimes I thought it was easier for him just to be gone. I'm like, let me feed my kid. Like, I'm nursing anyway. So it's like, you don't have boobs. Like,
All right, you can't do this part.
so, when he went to the bottle, like, we eventually pumped and whatever, he could help then. But like right out the gate, like there's not much he can do. And he actually told me, he says, straight home from the hospital, it felt like you guys had your own little thing going on. Like I felt like a third wheel. So it was like, I might as well go back to work because I might as well make myself useful and make money. It's like a different shift of perspective.
Right. And
But it is hard on the mom because then they're like up all night and all day.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And does it help too? Like, because like obviously it's kids can't process the way that we process. So they're thinking, great, my routine that I'm used to and I like is being thrown off because daddy's coming home. But does it help like continually talk about daddy and
Yeah.
I even say this like let's say he's gone for a holiday. I don't know if you've had experience where he's gone for a holiday. You're like, oh, you're talking about like, we miss daddy. Too bad daddy's not here enjoying this Christmas with us or stuff like. Does that kind of thing help like keep them connected, with their father while he's gone?
Absolutely. We've missed we've probably missed every holiday. I think he's missed Christmas. I think he's missed all their birthdays. I mean like one of them or two. But what I try to position it as is, well, now you get 2 celebrations because we'll celebrate before he leaves or when he gets home.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's kind of how I grew up. Like my friends would laugh. They'd be like, are you done with your Christmas yet? Because like Christmas would be over.
Yeah.
And
Right.
like my dad would come home and we'd be celebrating. And they're like, come on, we got to go to the mall. Like, are you done yet?
You're done. Christmas is over.
Christmas is done. Why are you still celebrating? But it's like it's our normal. And like some of my son's friends are like, do you even have a father? Like, why isn't he ever at the school? Why doesn't he go? And he's like, yeah, he takes me fishing on the boat on like, we go lobstering and like whatever. So like having special things with each kid and then getting alone time, like if you know you are going to miss a holiday, getting that special alone time with each kid and picking out like my husband's love language is like gift giving. So he's always like, let's go and pick out something special when I get home. Like he had to do an extra trip and he's like, we're going to go on a shopping spree when we go home and get, go to Walmart as I made extra money. And my son's been asking for this one video game for like a year since he got his Switch. And I said, no, you have enough video games. Like that's not in the budget right now. And then after he said that, he goes, can I get the video game? And Josh is like, oh yeah, absolutely. Go for it. And
Oh, that's
oh my God, that's the best thing. And I'm not saying like it should be all about monetary and presents, but if that's each other's love language, then like let it be.
Exactly. If it's the love language, because he goes out and he works so hard, and it's just like he's able to. He loves, like my husband. He's not a gift giving is not his love language. However, when it comes to birthdays and Christmas, it's like, why do I go out and work if I can't just have that moment where I see my kids light up because of an object, which
exactly. And he's actually told me like, and it kind of related to the mom guilt. Like I would feel guilty going to a concert without him or going to a movie or a massage or whatever. And I would say that to him. I'm like, I just feel so guilty that you're missing out on this. Like, I don't know what recent thing I did that I was like feeling guilty about. I went with his sister or his mom or something. It doesn't matter. But he said, no, it makes me so happy to know that you two are having the best time. Like, it just makes me so happy to know that my work is, because he's that like caveman, I provide for the family kind of guy.
Oh,
And that being said, he's very encouraging of me in my business. And when I did work, I'm a stay-at-home mom now, but like when I did work outside the home, he was very like, well, can you not work Saturdays? Like I want to hang out. Like it was never about the money. It was about more of like the quality time. So yeah, he's always like, well, I just love knowing that you're safe. Like when we had a snowstorm and we lost power, he's like, now you make sure you order wood, like make sure you bring the wood in and like keep warm. And I just love knowing that I've paid for the oil to keep the house warm. And I think that's his like rationale of like, yes, I'm kind of miserable out here and I have really great points as well. Like I can sit and watch TV by myself when I know, and she's dealing with all the kids. Like I have quiet time and she doesn't. I can go to the gym and she can't. Like we both have those moments of like appreciation. And he works really hard for us. And that's kind of what we try to instill in our kids. And it's like the kids know, we're not like millionaires, but we're fine. We get, everything they need. And like, if we get extras once in a while because he worked hard, then why work and not enjoy it?
Exactly. Oh, well said. Well, Katelyn, it's been such a joy to have you on here. I know you've caught your, I want to respect your time because I know.
No, I could talk all day, but this was great. I was like, oh, I do. Speaking of kids,
I'm like, I think to myself, oh, if she has all the time, we should just make this huge long podcast. I'll break it up now.
No, it's fun. I love your podcast, and I love that you and I both try to keep it to that mom 20 to 30 minute range. Like,
yes. It makes it nice. It's easy. Yeah. Because people are busy and stuff, but
thank you so
where
much.
can people find you?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I have my More Than a Merchant Mariner's Wife podcast, and I'm also the founder of the number 2 Gulls and a Buoy online. So I sell products that help calm the chaos of motherhood. So we have kind of motivational bracelets and kind of just different types of jewelry to remind you that you are more than a merchant mariner's wife. You are more than a mother. You are a person. And just, remembering gratitude and remembering that you can do it. So I have like mantra bracelets and things like that.
I love it. Hey, would you email me your links and then
absolutely
notes that way?
Absolutely. And I'm going to send you a discount code as well. I'll give your listeners 20% off.
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you.
So you can use code, I'll put GULLS, GULLS. So you can use code GULLS for 20% off.
Ooh, I love it. My listeners will love it. Thank you so much for being here today, Katelyn. I really appreciate you and all of your words of wisdom. I know there's mothers out there that are resonating with this and they're like, oh, I needed this message today. I needed someone to take my guilt away or permission or something.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I hope the right person heard it. So carry on.
Sure they will. All right. You have a wonderful day, Katelyn.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me today, friends. I hope anything said here today was inspirational and helpful. May the rest of your day be full of awesomeness. And as always, rock on.